Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Welcome to Cornhusker Corner with Blake.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm Brooks.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle business.
Here's a hand up to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stokes. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out. Yeah! 40. It is very close. 15, 10, 5.
All right, welcome to Cornhusker Corner, where there's no place like this podcast. As always, we're your host, Blake, my brother, Brooks. We're back from another hiatus due to my travel. So please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.
That's all we're gonna get. That's all we're gonna get from you.
That's all. No, I it was the Illinois game. We didn't.
You better have some
record.
good stories of being a man of international business, or
Okay. Well, the Illinois game, we were
for
gonna
the
give
CIA.
us some time. We're gonna give us some time anyways, just for the week, and then there was a miscommunication, so we didn't end up able to record it. So
I'm just
I
kidding.
flew her during the week, and
Comedy.
then I comedy, and then I flew to Pennsylvania to go sleep on the ground in the woods. So
That's okay. That's okay. The timing was perfect because we were sad last week.
Yeah.
But this week
we
we
needed
are
it.
happy. I
happy as you
wonder why
can be.
that is.
as happy as it can be. I don't think we really need to recap like any of the Illinois game. We had our chances to win, we didn't win, whatever. Purdue. So we haven't talked about that really at all, because I just got back on Monday. But
Yeah.
I was able to watch the game too, because I was in the woods. Didn't really get to watch the game all that much. I watched the whole fourth quarter, which good time to start watching. But so what
good.
are your thoughts?
Well, somebody made the comment on one podcast. They were like, well, I got up right as the game started, and that was perfect because I was kind of half awake for that first half, and I wasn't as pissed as everybody else. I got up at a solid 7 a.m. and was like proactive and was solid and awake by the time the game started. So it was frustrating first half for me to watch. But we haven't done it since Illinois. So I do just want to say, just to encapsulate the Illinois stuff, we've seen them play Penn State now. Just looking at Illinois from a now 2-week perspective, we've seen them play Penn State now, and Penn State kind of did to them what I wish we could have done to them, right? Where it was like in the third and fourth quarter, Penn State showed that they had the superior line and the superior running back room. So it kind of does put some things in perspective for the season, but that Illinois game, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it also was a winnable game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like one of those like, oh, we got dominated.
It wasn't just a winnable game,
right? We should have won.
We should have beat them by multiple scores.
No doubt about it. And you don't want to get in a pattern of doing that as a Nebraska fan. The greatest 3-9 team of all time, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that maybe dawned on me on the Illinois game was, okay, maybe I was too generous with the floor of this team. Okay. So I'm not willing to, because I have to address this. That's why I had to go back, because our last podcast was me being like, I have us at number 6. We're going to blah, blah, blah. And I was just like in national championship mode.
Yes, you were, which is, listen, that's fine. There's still a lot of good expectations that we should be having on this team in this year. So I don't want to, and I wasn't trying to quell your, enthusiasm at all, and again, it's infectious too, because I told you this after the Illinois game. I had a final score that was almost the final score of Illinois winning, but we were sitting there talking. I just got myself hyped up, and I got kind of lost in it, and then I ended up picking us to win. So
the last text of that night I received from you was something like I told you not to believe.
Yeah, it was
something like that. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And it felt like a big thing in the moment, right? But I really did, like 24 hours later, I was like, okay, we did get dominated in certain moments of that game, but I do think Illinois is always going to be solidly coached because they're from Bielema, and they had some players, they had some playmakers. So I don't think they're a bad team. And then they showed it against Penn State. Not 100% vindicated me, sort of showed me like the pecking order, though, in my opinion.
Well,
So
again,
yeah,
it just showed, what, Penn State has been in that moment more. So they were
yeah,
able to
for
kind of,
sure.
settle in a little
Perennial
bit more
10
than we
win
were.
team.
Yeah.
Perennial 10 win team. Penn State
So
is.
they
Yeah.
knew
So
exactly what it was going to feel like. They don't really have the stigma of, okay, we have to get this going. You know what I mean? They do, but now, like, I think the stat is like, if you look back, if they had a 12-team playoff, the past 10 years, then they would have made it like 8 of them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they're thinking about that in the back of their head now, right?
yeah, no
So,
doubt.
and I know just Penn State fans, just because of where I've, we were lived and kind of grew up a little bit, but they're not very high on Franklin, but they don't have nearly as the pressure that Nebraska does, especially like they've been top 25.
No, yeah, they're
You know?
impressive, and you got but Illinois, you got to give Bielema credit. They go into
Oh,
Penn
absolutely.
State.
Yeah.
It's not a night game, and they called it whiteout energy. It's not whiteout, but it's a whiteout energy. Everybody's wearing white. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a night game. It's a whiteout. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But they're only legally allowed to have one whiteout per year, so they have to call it whiteout energy. It's just whiteout energy. It's so funny to me. But
That is
so it was
funny.
a hostile environment.
Yeah.
They had good training for it the week before. Lincoln was a hostile environment for them the week before. But yeah, I don't think Illinois is a bad team, but it did kind of show us like, okay, if we don't play, like there's weaknesses to our team that give us a lower floor than I thought we had 2 weeks ago. I'm remain to see what our ceiling is. Maybe our ceiling is as optimistic as I was talking about 2 weeks ago. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, move on to Purdue. The Purdue, just real quick, we'll address Purdue. It was a good bounce back. It was, and it's a good opportunity for Dylan Raiola to get a road win.
Road.
And
Not just a
in
win,
a
road
decent environment.
experience.
Yeah, road experience.
Like,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, even though from what I saw, Purdue, the stadium, because that stadium, especially at that time slot, that was kind of like the narrative, right? But that stadium at that time slot can be kind of dead.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. They actually showed up pretty well, probably because it's closer to the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Not towards the back, it's more towards the front half than the back half. But it wasn't by any stretch like hostile, like can't hear anything. But it was a good intro, I think.
There's also some like college football wives' tales that are spun about the Purdue playing surface every year and about what they do to the grass, and that it was going to be rainy. And so there's a lot of factors, and and then Tommy Hill's not playing. Sierra Wright played for him. Interestingly enough, you look back at Illinois, it's like Tommy Hill obviously had planar going into that game, and there were a couple of plays that were busted wide open because he couldn't move. And so then moving forward, Sierra plays in his place, and he does it. I mean, it was obvious that he was getting his swagger. About midway through the first quarter, he was making some plays. And so I like Sierra Wright. I like Sierra Wright right there. But they also had adversity. It was almost the exact inverse of the Colorado game, right? Where Colorado, we like jumped out on top and absolutely dominated them in the first half, and pretty much nothing went wrong. 28-0, end score 28-10. Then this one, it was 0-0 with Purdue, the worst team by all accounts, by most accounts in the Big Ten right now, them or UCLA. And it's 0-0 going to halftime, and they come out but they don't freak out because they know we got over the 50-yard line every single one of our 6 possessions of that first drive. Raiola was making the passes, just not in the exact right moments, but it was arguably a Satterfield thing. I don't know. I don't know if you watched the whole game.
No. I was able to watch the game. I was able to
Yeah.
watch the game now, and listen, I think it might have helped knowing that we did pull it out, but it didn't ever feel like we were out of control of the game. Like our offense was moving the ball. Like they almost never got stopped. Every time they stopped, it was kind of like a play calling, or they didn't execute. There was a guy open, he didn't get hit. They missed a block here or there. It wasn't like like they were dominating kind of thing. It was just like, oh man, we really messed that up. And that's kind of just how it felt. They drove down the field all day, and then we missed like three field goals. So
Oh,
you can't. That's
so bad, man.
Yeah,
it was
no,
so bad.
It's so bad, and all of them were missed for different reasons. One of them was just a straight miss. I know Rule said like snapping is a big issue, and I saw that too. But then one of them was a good snap, and it was just a bad hold.
Yeah,
so it's all around kind of just bad. That that unit right now. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
punting is the only good special teams that we have right now.
Yeah, and it's funny,
So,
and it's funny. I see people saying like, "Oh, well, that means never ever kick a field goal ever again. We're always going for it on fourth down." And I've gone back and forth with myself on this the last, couple days thinking about it. And I'm just like, no, like you have to keep trying. I'm
yeah,
sorry, like
you
you
do.
have to keep trying because
You have to keep
eventually
trying.
we're gonna figure it out. Like you have to
Unless
keep
our
trying.
defense is getting
Yeah.
absolutely boat raced,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
can't stop anything, you have to keep trying.
Yeah, you
Have to,
do. Because we have to have a field goal unit.
we
Like
have to. If you're gonna win big
yeah.
games, if you're gonna win close games, you have to be able to hit a field goal.
Now, the Texans, I think last year, the NFL has a 53-man roster, right? So the Texans kicker got hurt, and their emergency kicker on roster was like he was like a defensive back or something.
Yeah.
And just a good athlete, and he made like 5 out of 7 kicks or something for when he kicked. It looked a little awkward and like not a kicker out there, but he made them. So we gotta make them. We just gotta figure out how to make them. Back in the day, they used to take the ball because it was bigger and wider, and then drop it on the ground and kick it up into the air. Like, come on, we gotta figure something out.
Yeah, we have to figure it out. So that's definitely an area of concern. Another area of concern, is penalties. At inopportune moments. There was some plays early on that like penalties stalled some drives that were stupid. And then there was, but like officiating just in general, and it's not just a Nebraska game thing. If you look if you watch football this year, the refs in general have been terrible on all sides of the ball for every team. They've been bad. They've been bad in the NFL too. I don't know what's in the water. I really don't. It is really strange. And like they're a little flag happy sometimes, especially that PI, the touchdown that got called back in the first quarter, when they went for it. And, that was not PI.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to name any names or call anybody specifically out. And I've heard a number of different theories because this is the conversation going around right now. I've heard it has to do with replay, which is an interesting conversation because it's like, oh, when you can replay everything, like the refs are more conscientious when everything's on social media. They're like more nervous. I don't know. I don't think that's what it is. I think that's a little too stupid, to be honest. I think here's my
flag happy.
I have a conspiratorial guess. No, like think about how prevalent sports betting is these days, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's hard to not like look at that parallel and be like, it's the most prevalent it's ever been. And there's so much money moving in all directions for just random little sports. I have a buddy of mine who literally will be up at like 3 a.m. on a Saturday, like I'm betting on Chinese baseball. And it's the funniest thing ever. But it's like there's people like that. And there's a whole city built around it. So I don't know. I'm not suggesting anybody in particular is corrupt, but it's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to not at least point that out when we look at it. We're like, man, the officiating is especially bad. And then it's like, well, everybody's got aligned interests in all this stuff too, man. If
you're going to go conspiratorial, but again, it's happening for everybody. So it's not like
Yeah, no, I mean, and Nebraska almost made up for it on the other side, right? Like with all the PIs that Dylan threw into and just things, we were good at. Purdue had more.
Say there was only like maybe one of those that I was just like, they probably should have just let that one go. The rest of them were pretty heinous PIs.
The one to Nair up the middle, right? The one to Nair. Yeah, I mean, he just played it well. It was ticky tacky, but they were just like in the rhythm of calling them.
Yeah,
they're like, all right, we'll just keep calling them. Yeah, I mean, because a couple of them were egregiously bad, and like, I mean, that's gonna get called. But also, Dylan placed the ball perfectly for you to have to. Like the one to Harburg, where Harburg ran like a out of the backfield, I guess it was like a fade route.
It was a wheel route.
Yeah, it was like a wheel route, but he like took the like in and then like in and out a leverage like a fade, and he got separation. He got separation, and if you watch the film, like if Dylan leads him by like 5-10 more yards, like it might be like a touchdown.
See, I would agree with you.
Kansas Jayhawks type, like.
I would agree with you, except I don't know who the receiver was that was also running the deep route.
Yeah.
He
True.
let his route
Yep.
drift a little bit.
Yeah.
If he would have cut that, it looked like it was supposed to be a post, and then he got knocked off, and he's like, okay, I just got to keep running. That would have
100%.
separated it, and then he probably would have been able to throw it a little better. He was trying to squeeze it in there.
100%. But on the one-on-one, like Harburg, the separation that he got on that one-on-one was impressive. It was impressive. Yeah. But anyway, so the play Dylan threw it made Harburg have to come back to the ball, and then the DB didn't look for the ball. So that's why those get called,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we kept Crazy Legs in check. And Hudson Card has been has shown himself to be the inferior Texas backup quarterback to Casey Thompson. But he wasn't bad, but like they're just a mess. Honestly, they are. And we had every right to beat the crap out of them, and we did. So
yeah, I mean, that was what the final score was. It really wasn't all that close. It was just a close score. Like if you watch it, I mean, we were dominating the line of scrimmage. They couldn't really move the ball, and even when they did, our guys were able to make some plays to stall out their drives. And
so the most testy moment was we go into halftime 0-0, and coming out of the third quarter, they have like an 8-play 70-yard or whatever drive that leads them.
Up half the clock.
Yeah, it takes up half the clock, 8 minute, and then it ends in a field goal. And in those moments, I was texting you things like, "Oh no, we're not even going to get to a ball game." Oh no,
it was funny. It was funny.
It was quite an emotional swing from what we're talking about right now, which is that easy game. We beat the crap out of them. It's just kind of like, we like that one Fansville commercial like keeps ringing to mind where it's like it's the first play of the game. It's like we're gonna lose. Like, so yeah, there's a little bit of that going on for sure. And I see people talking about I see people talking about how much negativity there is out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I see people talking about, there's negativity this, there's negativity that. And I'm like, yeah, there's emotional tweeting, which is something I think we can all handle in 2024, right? And to me, that's not a big deal. But we're not seeing, I don't know if I'm seeing like random accounts tweeting at recruits' parents or like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'd be seeing that stuff if it was out there, and I'm not. Yeah. So the negativity that people are talking about, I don't know. Maybe let's just, I don't know. Things, it ebbs and flows. The season is a roller coaster. That's just what it is. You know, I mean, let each moment be what it is. You know, that's how I think about it.
Listen, any game can be close. Teams that have no business getting beat, get beat all the time. Like Ole Miss had no business losing to Kentucky.
Yeah, crazy.
And they lost, right?
Yep.
And Miami had no business losing to Virginia Tech because they lost. I'm sorry, that was horrible.
BS. And Michigan
Hokie fans, you got hosed.
Yeah, 100%.
Hosed.
Give them their due. They did get hosed, 100%. And I also think a shout out is warranted to Minnesota, who got hosed and should have beat Michigan. Absolutely ridiculous. That type of stuff is the stuff that makes me go.
They got hosed so bad that now they looked at the rule and did it because they're like, that was bad. We need to fix
what did they redo? Did they say that like in that situation
how they're going to call?
They're going to review it?
Yeah.
No, did they say in that situation they're going to be able to review it? That's the only thing that would really fix that in the future. Is like if there's a critical call in a situation like that, if it's like a game deciding situation, anything should be reviewable. That's think back to like 2021 Wisconsin, was it? I forget what Wisconsin game it was, where maybe it was the Riley Wisconsin game where Janovich had the go ahead, and then we got called for like a PI or something. I don't remember. It was a Wisconsin game at home where we should have freaking won. We would have won, and we got called for a PI. Jojo Doman. It was a Jojo Doman PI, and it was not a PI. I mean, like he didn't even touch him. He didn't even touch him. And it was like the last play of the game, and it gave him the position to, I think, kick a field goal to win. Stuff like that to me is like,
you should be able to review it.
Yeah. But anyway, so shout out to Minnesota. They beat Michigan. Good for y'all. Shout out to Virginia Tech. Y'all beat Miami.
Y'all beat Miami. It just doesn't show up in your record right now.
Yeah.
And then
row the boat and I can only say row the boat too because we're not playing them this year, and who cares? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, yeah. Have any other thoughts on the Purdue game? I have
no. Do you? Yeah, go ahead.
Emmett Johnson definitely needs some more touches. I've thought that for a while, but people kind of hyped him up a little bit going into the season. I did too, because if you remember, he was like going to be my breakout on offense. Like even in that running back room, he was going to be a breakout. But after rewatching the season, he did fine. Like he did fine last year. He had a couple of good runs here and there, but like he was okay. But he's shown that like he's kind of taken another step too, and he can see the holes. He can make people miss. He's shifty.
Well, he's just dependable. Dependable.
He's
dependable. He's
dependable.
He's just dependable though. Like, that's his best quality is like he's gonna do the things he does, and he's really good at those. He at the like 2 to 10 yard type runs, he's really good at those tight, making moves, having the right vision, making the right cut, being patient in the right moment, and making that guy miss. Now, is his top gear as top geary as like Amir Abdullah or somebody like that? No, it's not. He doesn't have like the breakaway speed. I don't see it, and there's not as much like flash as if you will say with Emmett, but he's just very dependable. He's obviously a very smart football player, and he reminds me of more like maybe a Rex. Rex was maybe a little faster, but I mean, Rex was just had all the tools in his tool bag.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's more. And Emmett's young. We got to keep that in mind. Like he's getting a little older, but he's still got 2 or 3 more years of eligibility. So
yeah,
he could become sort of like a Rex by the end of his career.
But he definitely needs more touches. Needs to get on the field a little bit more.
For sure. That was apparent.
It was very apparent.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's do a quick thing before we go right into the Rutgers. Okay. Let's do a record check-in. So we have this thing right before the season started. These were our predictions. And honestly, minus the on the left side is what our prediction was preseason, and on the right is what the outcome was. All right. So going into the Rutgers game, we both had the same record. We had us being 4-1 going into the Rutgers game. So you just had us losing to Purdue, and I had us losing to Colorado. We both had us winning at Illinois. And I also wanted to like take the time is like before the season started, you look at the schedule and you're like, okay, because that's why people are like 7 wins. They're going to go into Ohio State 7 wins. Teams that have outperformed what the expectations Illinois has, Rutgers has, Indiana has, like this
Colorado has.
Yeah, Colorado is now 4-1.
People say you don't want to talk about them, but it's like
it's
they're 4-1, man. Like,
they beat an undefeated UCF team at UCF. Yeah, like that was a good win.
Yeah,
right?
it was.
It might be the best win of the prime era. Honestly.
Yep. Good job, Greg. Good job, Greg.
Good job, Greg. But no, if you look at the schedule though, like that's not a cupcake schedule anymore.
No.
It's not. Rutgers should be ranked. Indiana's ranked. Illinois is ranked. Like UCLA.
Dude, our next 2 games are like legit, man. They're legit.
Yeah.
And they decide pretty much the trajectory of the rest of the season for me. I mean, for a lot of people, because it's like if you go 1-1, I can kind of handle that. 5-2. I can handle that because, we got to get 1 win out of the rest of the schedule. And I think it's UCLA. I think it's there. So I think if we get that 1 win and we get to at least bowl eligibility territory, I think we're still solid with this coaching staff and everything going where it is. But
yeah. And I am not ready to crown us 9-3, especially after the Illinois game. You asked me that last time, and I was like, "You ready to change?" And I was like, "No, I still think 8-4 is pretty fair. We have the talent to do it, man."
Yep, absolutely.
I've watched both of these games. Both of these are still winnable games. They're just not as winnable as people thought they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about Rutgers then, because that's what's coming up. We got a couple Munun guys. Just one Munun guy to face. Kyle Munun guy. Isn't that his first name? Kyle.
Yeah.
You're going down, Kyle.
You're going down, Kyle.
No, but he's a really good back. He's the best back we faced so far. And he just doesn't go down on initial contact, and it is going to take gang tackling to really let him to really contain him. And we've done this with backs before, okay, with Tony White and with a lot of this same personnel. So this is not anything that's new to them. And the only thing that's giving me pause is some of what we saw in the third and fourth quarter of the Illinois game, right? But that being said, I think on the other side of things, Rutgers gives up like 5.9 yards per carry rushing. Like, they don't have a great rushing defense, which is crazy.
No, they don't.
So which surprised the heck out of me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And maybe it was passing. Like there was.
You sound like Jeff Goldblum right now.
Yes. No, but their defense is gonna have problems with their offense, okay? Because
sorry, I can't unhear it now. They're gonna have problems. Okay, they're gonna have lots of problems.
No, the defense is gonna have problems with our offense.
Yeah.
Washington drove up and down the field on Rutgers and just couldn't score. It was similar to our first half against Purdue, quite honestly. Washington had 500 yards of offense.
I know.
Against Rutgers and
It's
lost 21-18. So we're gonna get yards. We need to punch it in, but if we can do that, it's good. Our defense should be able to handle their offense. Now, if it gets deep into the third and fourth quarter and it's still a game and yada yada, that's where it could be like, okay, it's time to break the curse. It's time to nut up or buck up or whatever you want to say. It's time to. It's really
upsetting. It's upsetting that Rutgers isn't ranked right now, because they should be, just because of who they beat and how they've beat them, and they're undefeated. I don't know why. Like, there's teams.
It's BS, man. I don't know why Illinois is still ranked, because they beat us, I guess. And Kansas, us and Kansas, really.
Yeah, but like, if you're gonna hold that like so high, like, there are teams that got, like, Oklahoma State.
They're ranked still?
No,
I was
Kansas State is still ranked, and they have a loss.
Yeah, they got
demolished. They got demolished, right?
Well, in a similar thing that I was just describing, where Kansas State had 200 yards more offense than BYU, or was it BYU? Is that who?
BYU,
yeah,
yep.
They had 200 yards more offense than them and lost 38-9. 38-9. I mean,
Crazy.
so, and it's funny. I actually texted Ryan this the other day. I was like, dang, Avery Johnson really is kind of like just like Taylor Martinez, just with a slightly prettier throwing motion. That's what I said. He's like Taylor Martinez, but with a slightly prettier throwing motion. But his right now, the way he looks in the pocket and the way he scans the field just reminds me of like Taylor Martinez. It looks like Taylor Martinez type stuff.
Yeah.
Taylor just had this shot put though. That like made it all. It was the cherry on top that made him look like a complete noob back there to everybody. Yeah. Like, he was a good athlete,
the best athlete on the field, but he could not throw.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But
anyway.
I went through, because you talk about strength of schedule, like who you've beat.
Yes.
And I was just kind of curious, because they're undefeated. They've played one less game than us, so they've already had a bye week, and so you look at like who they've beat and who they've beat and how they've gone on. Who they've beat have gone on to like their records. So their 4 wins, right? The teams that they beat are 2-3, 1-4, 2-2, and 3-2, for a grand total of 8-11 overall. That's who they've beat, right?
Yeah, but what did we just say? Keep going.
Just who they've beat.
Yes.
And who we've beat is 0-4 UTEP, 4-1 Colorado, 2-2 Northern Iowa, 4-1 was a loss. and then 1-3, and that's Purdue. That's the one we just had. So 1-3, 2-2, 4-1, 0-4. So we've only beat one winning team technically so far. We're 7-10, so we're one behind them just in the win-loss. But if we go to overall, the overall teams we've played are 11-10.
Who'd you say was 2-2?
Northern Iowa.
Oh, they would have been a winning team if we didn't beat them.
You're right. This point would also be moot. But just like
yes. Anyway,
right now the Colorado win is looking really good. The Purdue win does not look nearly as good, and then the Illinois loss doesn't look as good because they now have a loss as well. But if you look at who the teams we played overall, they're 11-10, and again we've played one more game.
But
just on teams we beat, we're 3 in the minus. 7.
But didn't they beat Virginia Tech? And that's what I was going to interrupt you. Didn't they beat Virginia Tech? Isn't that one of their wins?
Yes.
Yes.
Virginia Tech
gave Virginia Tech the credit for beating Miami, so let's account for that.
I understand. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But do you think Virginia Tech is better than Colorado at this point? It's kind of hard to tell. But
question for Matt O'Hanlon.
My point is our wins to losses on the teams that we beat is both 3.
Yeah.
8-11, 7-10. So
yeah.
It's like I do think we've had a little easier of a schedule because they've had to play Washington and they've had to play Virginia Tech. Those are not easy games by any stretch. But up until this point, I think that like it's pretty comparable.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like what you'd seen, and they've only had a couple blowout wins. We've had one close game.
Yes.
We've had one close game. And we lost that close game.
Yes. And like I said, you never want to play that could, should, would. I mean, look, okay, if you lay out all the scenarios for what that game could have been all in front of you, a good solid portion, I'm going to say there's 50 scenarios laid out here in front of a palm reader. There's a good portion of those 50 scenarios that were Nebraska winning that game handily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that Illinois game. I'm not playing the but yes, you're right. We've had one close game. Yeah. And Rutgers, to me, the scenario, the real storyline, big picture overall going into this game for me is Rutgers as good as Illinois? Was the Illinois game a fluke for the Nebraska trenches? And if Rutgers is theoretically comparable to Illinois, which, as you're laying it out, kind of they are, this is a good challenge for our trenches to ultimately, catch some more momentum.
This is a game. This is a game where you can show that maybe that one game they didn't have their eye on the ball. Maybe they were believing their own hype a little bit too much. They got knocked down a little bit, and then they refocused and came back to work, right? Because listen, like I said, we dominated Purdue's line. And even though it's Purdue and not Purdue with of a couple of years ago, it's still a Big Ten team. It's still Big Ten linemen. That's still hard to do, right? Yes. So this is going to be another test, especially with Indiana coming up. Well, how did that happen? That makes me more angry than because
I'm not Googling him until next week. Okay.
Yeah. Shiano's
I haven't Googled him. I'm not Googling him.
Shiano's a good coach. He's had the ship pointed in the right direction for years now. And this was supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to happen how it has. I don't think anyone had them undefeated coming into this game. I think they had like one loss. But Shiano's a good coach. They're a good team. We have to.
I think it was under him back in the late 2007, maybe 2011 era of college football. Around that time, I think maybe it was him when Rutgers was kind of for a little while perennial on the verge of going to a BCS bowl.
They were 11-2.
Yeah, no, I know they got to a BCS bowl one year, but I mean there was a couple years there where it was like they were almost to a BCS bowl a couple different times. Yeah. So they were, and that was when they were in the Big East or whatever, a conference that doesn't exist anymore. was, they're respectable, and he's built them up. When we played them 2 years ago, I think it was Mickey Joseph, right? And that was that Bill Bush's like second game maybe as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, because Indiana was
it
the
was a night
first
game. Might have
Mhm.
even been a Friday game.
And people forget about this. They talk about, oh, we suck in 1-score games, and it's like, okay, that was a 1-score game that was close, and none of those players are on this team anymore. I get that, but like Casey connected to Trey with like 6 minutes left in the game, and we were losing 13-0 like most of that game. So anyway, and they've only built since that night, Rutgers, that is. So we'll see what they are. I'm curious. I honestly am, because I think for them, from their standpoint, this is a good test for them, because
Yeah.
I think we're starting to get a pretty decent idea of who we are. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of how we play each week. And I
Yeah.
really believe that. I think most of these games, besides like Ohio State and a couple of the other ones, most of these games are about us. They really are. A lot of them are, especially at this stage of the season. The back half, when we start playing teams like Wisconsin and Iowa and those types of teams, then yeah, we can have a conversation about who's actually more talented. But right now, it's without a doubt us, and this is rule number 2. Rule year number 2. Rule number 2, like Dolores Umbridge. Anyway, continue. I was rambling.
I love how you said continue like you interrupted me. And you didn't. Well,
anyway, continue.
Anyway, continue. Continue, because I lost my train of thought.
Minutes, like 10 minutes.
Continue, because I lost my train of thought. But yeah, no, this is not an easy game. It's one that I had us. I mean, if I'll pull this back up, I had us at the beginning of the season, and in our predictions, I had us losing this game and going into Ohio State, since everybody likes to circle this one, even though this one's more important at this point. Going in with a 5-2 record.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Game.
Huh? It's a very important game.
Yeah.
Not just for momentum, but just for getting to 6.
I'm just looking at this schedule. Like, if we don't win this game, it might be like what I was talking about at halftime of the Purdue game, of like, oh, we don't get to a bowl game. Like,
there's still
that on the table.
We need 2 wins, right?
Yes.
At this point,
yeah, 2 wins.
I see 2.
Rutgers and UCLA is what I see right now.
I see. Well, that's like worst case scenario.
Exactly.
I see 2 wins, even if we lose this game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, fair enough. I might as well, but I'm just saying, if like everything implodes, look, the sample size we have from last year is like, we did pretty good. And then last 4 games, we absolutely just fumble the ball. I mean, it was awful. And we didn't get to a bowl game for that reason. So that's our sample size. So these dudes need to prove to us that they can finish. Matter of fact, that Purdue game, one of the encouraging things about it was like, rule teams so far have kind of been first half teams. Hold on, hopefully win. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that Purdue game was like, okay, this was a close game. All right, put the pedal to the metal. Let's win.
They sprinted through the finish line, which is good to see.
Yeah.
I mean, that we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we've always been holding on instead of driving through the finish line.
Yep.
Right.
The Illinois game last year was an example of that. I mean, the Indiana game 2 years ago, same thing, not rule, but same thing, where it was like we jumped up and then, we were kind of holding on. But anyway, predictions, right? Is that where we are next? The keys to the game or anything like that?
Yeah. Let's do. Yeah. We have all that stuff. Keys to the game.
Yes.
Let's go with that. So I think, again, these can be kind of repetitive, just because football's pretty much, if you do the things that you're supposed to do, if you do good, you will do good. No, but I think if we are forcing Callie McManus to take over the game, I think that it's going to be an easy day. I just do. He plays great. He's now a pushover. I'm not going to insult the guy, but he's
The
not a game breaker.
McManus.
I'm not going to insult the McManus.
He's Irish. His name's Callie McManus.
Alec McManus.
His name's
Callie
Alec
McManus.
Callie
McManus.
McManus. Yeah, he's Greek. He's Greek.
That's what I said. Didn't I?
Or
did I say Mick?
Callie McManus.
Oh, Callie McManus. Okay, whatever.
Yes, you spent a little time in
if
Ireland.
We have to force the ball to go into his hands to win the game.
Yes.
I think our secondary is much better than the team they most recently played. And they won't be able to do it.
Yes.
So,
fun fact: Callie McManus, Callie McManus is 2-0 versus
Nebraska.
2-0 versus Nebraska, because that one year Tanner Morgan.
Tanner Mordecai Morgan.
Yeah, they all blend together. It's just pick a player. It's random name generator. Tanner Morgan got hurt, and Callie McManus came in and won the game for him. And then last year, of course, everybody remembers the first game of the year last year. So we gotta get one over on Callie McManus. That's the other storyline of this game to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah,
he's not going to be scared of Nebraska. He's beat us twice.
And but players are going to know that too.
Yeah.
You know? So, what's your keys?
My keys to the game are, I think that one of Rutgers' strengths has been they've been containing chunk plays. Is like one of their strengths on defense. So I think and then also like their defense has only got like 4 sacks on the year or something like that. Keep in mind, I'm not I'm literally just reiterating to you stuff I listen to at work here and there. But yes, that I know for sure that their defense has like 4 sacks on the year, which makes me go, okay, like Dylan Raiola maybe could operate. I'm going to be looking for some chunk plays from our offense. I think our defense can be at the very least serviceable if our offense is scoring and backing them up in that way.
Yeah.
Especially for a team that's built like Rutgers, they're built to rely on the run.
As long as we're playing complementary football.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're 2 scores up in the late third quarter, if we're 2 scores up in the late, like it's 14-3 in the late third quarter, I'm feeling pretty good about the game.
Yeah. Because that's what happened last week. We played complementary football.
Right.
Like our offense wasn't going 3 and out. Our defense was able to rest. So they were able to come back out a little bit more fresh and they were able to, do their thing.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. So we're going to go right into predictions. Let's go. You first.
So I think that Kamala, no, I'm just kidding. So I think that I was like, what are we predicting? I think Nebraska will win the game. I think that it will be a close game. And I think that unfortunately, because as Joel Klatt said, the AP is a joke. Unfortunately, we won't be getting over the ranked team victory hurdle that we need to get over, but we will get over the beating a good team in a close game. And I think it'll be like, I want to say like 28-24, something like that. 28-24, because here's my thoughts. We have terrible special teams. I do think our defense will play well. I do think our offense will score points and move the ball on them. But Shiano has blocked 70 kicks as a coach in his career. Not him personally, but his teams.
Yeah, it's a real big problem. They're starting to crack down on him. He just runs out onto the field.
Flag. It's detrimental to his team. He does it every time.
Craig.
No, but his teams have blocked 70 kicks in his tenure as a D1 college coach, which is impressive. So they get after it, and our field goal kicking team is going to have its job cut out for it, and our punt team is going to have its job cut out for it. So if our offense, does its job and just gets in the end zone, this game should be no problem, quite honestly. But if they mess around and do what we did against Purdue the first half, it's going to be a little bit more problematic against this team versus they're just better than Purdue. So but anyway.
Here's the thing. I think that if we can establish our run, which we probably should be able to against this defense, just based on their history, based on how we've been doing, it's going to open up the pass, and it's going to do a lot. I think that this is the best run defense that they're going to run into at this point in the season. I just do, even though we've had even though we had the one bad game against Illinois, if you look at the stat sheet, they didn't have that many rushing yards. We still are one of the best rushing defenses in the country, right? So even though we look at it now as kind of like not as good as last year, we're still one of the best in the country. Mm-hmm. I don't think this game is close. I think it's close, maybe up through halftime. But I think the final score is somewhere around 28-14.
Wow, the tables have turned.
Yeah.
See,
I think we match up. Yeah. I think we match up. Now that I've seen us both play, I think we match up incredibly well to their weaknesses, our strengths, and vice versa. Unless like Nebraska comes out and completely lays an egg and proves me wrong, and I have egg all over my face. I just from what I've seen from football and playing football, that's what I think is going to happen.
So what's the big difference between them and Illinois then? Is it the receiving core of Illinois?
Illinois has more talent.
I mean, Rutgers has enough to where you have to respect it though, right? I mean, that's...
Oh yeah. No, I didn't. Have I said that? I wasn't respecting it at all. It is a game that could very well come, like what you said, it can come down to one score. It can be like that. I don't expect that to be the case. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I think they're going to be locked in, and they're not going to run into the trap again that they ran into with Illinois. I just don't. Yep. You only make those mistakes once, and good teams are able to like bounce back and really figure it out. Because there were a lot of factors for what happened last week.
Well, and think about it. If football is a game of momentum, they've destroyed their momentum pretty much with every weird performance they've had this year, where it's like first half good, second half bad. When you have second half bad, the team carries that into practice, right? And then it affects the way you play, where it's like we said second half bad, and then it's like but now it's first half bad but second half good. So maybe they go into practice and they're like second half good. So theoretically maybe you're right, and maybe they carry a little bit of that momentum into this game. But what do you predict? What do you predict, audience? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, Mom. What do you think, Mom?
She's probably watching Call the Midwife. Every time I walk into a room, it's just like somebody in Victorian age England giving birth or something like that. That's what she's watching. Yeah. It's looks good.
Okay. Yeah, on that note, thanks for like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. We also have our audio only version anywhere you can find podcasts. I wouldn't say anywhere. There's some weird place you can find podcasts, but most notable places you can find podcasts, you'll find our audio only version. Or if you're listening to the audio only, we post these on YouTube. Just Cornhusker Corner, very easy to find. Give us a like. We like doing this, so give us some love or give us some hate. Just comment. If you hate us, tell us. But yeah, any other final thoughts?
No. I think we're good, man. I think we got to beat Rutgers. I think then we go to Indiana. Is this a bye week after this week, right?
Bye week after this week.
Nice. Bye week after this week. Then we go to Indiana and we got to Google their coach before we go there, and then and then we go to Columbus, Ohio to shock the nation. So I'm excited to be here for it.
All right.
Podcast.